When I consider the span of Martin Luther King's cruelly shortened life, all he achieved and his legacy, I'm both awed and sad. Awed by the progress made and his role in that progress, and sad that it is evident too there is still so much more to do and a long way to go. Unfortunately, freedom is not yet ringing from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city. Martin Luther King's dream that his 4 little children would one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the colour of their skin, but by the content of their character, has not yet come to pass universally for all children. There is still so much more to do. But as he said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. And if you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. And Bullis is moving forward. Last night, a Bullis search committee interviewed 3 excellent candidates for the new role of Director of Diversity, Equity and Inclusion. Next week, we'll interview 3 more candidates, and by spring break, we'll have appointed a person to this extraordinarily important position on the senior leadership team at Bullis. I cannot judge yet if we are crawling, walking or running, but we are moving forward. And I'm glad that we're on this journey together. Let's give thanks today for the accomplishments of Martin Luther King and others who continually strive to make the world a better place. Thank you.
Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929. He was originally named Michael King Jr. His parents were Michael King Sr. and Alberta Williams King Dr. King and his siblings grew up in a loving family. Dr. King began school when he was 5 years old. He later went on to skip 2 grades in high school. Dr. King started college in 1944 when he was only 15 years old.
In 1948, Dr. King attended the Crosser Theological Seminary in Chester, Pennsylvania. He graduated first in his class in 1951 and was student body president. While working on his doctorate degree, he met Coretta Scott, a singer and musician. They got married in 1953 and had 4 children. In 1954, Dr. King became the pastor of the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama. In 1955, after Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated bus, Dr. King led the black community of Montgomery to boycott the buses. For 380 days, the black citizens of Montgomery walked to work. Finally, in 1957, the city of Montgomery ended segregation on buses, thus ending this peaceful protest.
Dr. King was an activist, a visible spokesperson for the civil rights movement. He led protests and marches to end segregation on August 28, 1963. Dr. King gave his famous I Have a Dream speech during the March on Washington. He spoke about his beliefs that someday all people would treat each other equally, regardless of race. Dr. King was an activism influenced Americans' opinions on the unfair treatment of black citizens in the U.S. In 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed. It outlawed disintegration. That year, Dr. King won the Nobel Peace Prize.
In 1968, Dr. King was shot and killed in Memphis, Tennessee. His death caused riots across the United States. A year later, his killer was sentenced to 99 years in prison. Martin Luther King Jr. changed how black people in America were treated. He was committed to social justice and changing policies through peaceful protests. He is the most well-known civil rights leader of his time, which is why we honor him with a national holiday. This biography was adapted from Newsella.com and biography.com.
Mural. today we're going to have a march. Why did kindergarten decide to have this march?
Because we want people to be kind, and also we read the book of Martin Luther King, and he really cared about kindness.
Hi, what does your sign say, Ava?
The golden rule.
Remember the golden rule?
Yeah.
And what is the golden rule?
To be nice to people.
Why is that important?
Because you don't want to be mean to people. Include people, and if you include people, it will get more and better and better at your games. I like when people play with me. Be nice to everybody.
And why did you write that sign?
Because I wanted to remind people to be nice to everybody. Always be nice to each other.
And why did you write that?
Because be nice to each other, so we remind each other to be nice to yourself. It says care about important things.
And what are important things?
Listening, giving people stuff, caring about each other, and lots of other stuff.
What does your sign say?
It says do not push people.
So what should people do?
They should help people back up.
What do we want?
Everybody to be kind!
Ava, when do we want it?
When do we want it? Now!
Okay, ready guys? Be nice, be nice, be nice.
Be nice! Be nice!
What do you think of Martin Luther King?
I think that he's a really good role model, and it's great that so many people get to learn about him in school, and that he's talked about so much.
He was an activist that really wanted to work and fight for what he knew was right, which was ending segregation and finding ways to get equal rights for everybody.
I have a lot of friends who are people of color, and I think would I have been able to meet them, or would I know them in the same way if Dr. King hadn't said what he said? And his whole thing about having a dream of a world where people will be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin, that was something that I connected to, because that's something that I want, and I know that a lot of other people want as well.
When you think of him, what comes to mind?
A strong individual that empowers people in the right way.
He had a really big dream, and he worked very hard to achieve it.
I think that he impacts basically everything, because if he hadn't spoken up, then things could possibly still be similar to the way they were back then. And he was really brave, even though he knew that there was a very good chance that he could be killed for what he was saying.
Just being able to meet new people and different people that I may not have been able to meet if he hadn't fought and gotten equal rights for everybody.
He helped me focus on peaceful ways of letting out anger instead of using violence.
Without the work of Dr. King, I'm sure that a lot of the progress that has been made probably would not have happened, or would not have happened as fast or in the same way.
How do you think he impacted your life?
Well, I know that if it weren't for him, things would be very different for me today, and I wouldn't be able to go to school with a lot of my friends.
Yeah, I think it says a lot about who he was as a person, that he was willing to put his life at risk to help millions and millions of people be treated equally.
Why is it important for us to remember and honor MLK? It's important because of the efforts he made to fight against racism and also because of the attention he brought to the issue.
MLK Jr. was a leader of the civil rights movement and a leader in a series of nonviolent protests. He risked his life fighting day and night for the future of equality.
And everyone else after him learned from him about protesting and anything else. So that's why it's important for us to remember his honor.
Martin Luther King Jr. is remembered as America's preeminent advocate of nonviolence and a leader of the civil rights movement. He challenged us to live up to the ideas enshrined in our founding documents, that we are all created equal and endowed with unalienable rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
His nonviolent protests and him speaking about a better tomorrow really brought attention to everyone's eyes, and I feel as if that's very important to remember.
It's important for us to remember and honor MLK Jr. because of all the work he's done to further racial equality in the United States.
It's important to know that the recent protests over racial injustice demonstrate dissatisfaction with long-standing problems of discrimination. So, Remembrance Day for Martin Luther King is a boost to our reflection and continued affirmative action. As we naturally think of Martin Luther King succeeding with peaceful protests, we could really see the fruits of unequal rights movements for our citizens since Martin Luther King.
I think this is important because he's done so many great things for this country that affect it to this day in positive ways.
What comes to mind when you think of MLK Day? I think of just his method of nonviolent protesting and how that's really significant.
When I think of MLK Day, I think of all the lives he's transformed in the world he has created. I think of his courage and strength. I think of his legacy.
When I think of MLK Day, I think of strength and the amount of courage it took to take a stand.
I mean, I think of a day where this country was united and everybody was one and everybody was equal.
When I think MLK Day, I think of a big parade that always happens in Washington, D.C. around this time. Everyone's there. It's very festive and everything, so it's very nice.
In what ways can students continue advancing MLK's dream and work? Students can continue advancing his dream and work by continuing his legacy and making their own dreams. I wish young minds will have the same courage that MLK did and that they take action and pursue their dreams.
We can do that by not only being afraid to stand up for what we believe in, but by using him as an active example of that.
I feel as if we continue to build community between others, it will be a better way to continue his dream and work.
I think by just keep doing what we're doing and taking the right steps forward and not leaving anybody out. And
you can do this by doing something always in service for others, and especially on MLK Day, doing some sort of service activity.
Hi, my name is Ariel Asari. I'm in the 11th grade and I am the Bullis Black Student Union Secretary, and I will be singing Lift Every Voice and Sing. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.